Florida, where a grand jury will investigate the controversial shooting of 17-year-old Trayvon Martin. This as the teenager's cell phone call to his girlfriend shed some new light on the moments leading up to that deadly confrontation with a neighborhood watch volunteer. We're going to talk to Trayvon Martin's mother and father in a moment, but first, NBC's Lilia Luciano has the latest. Lilia, good morning to you.
Good morning, Matt. As new details are emerging this morning, revealing more about the final moments of Trayvon Martin's short life, questions are being raised about the Florida law that might protect the shooter, George Zimmerman, from ever being charged with crime. Hundreds gathered at the Sanford Chapel Tuesday night, brought together by Trayvon Martin and the way he died.
And we, as people of color, are going to stand our ground.
Martin was shot by a neighborhood watch volunteer last month in this gated community as a 17-year-old made his way back from a 7-Eleven. George Zimmerman called 911, reporting the teen looked suspicious. He then told police Martin was approaching him.
Now he's coming towards me. He's got his hand in his waistband. And he's a black male.
But Trayvon's family says there's a new witness to their son's final moments. Trayvon's family said that according to cell phone records, the teen was on the phone with his girlfriend when he encountered Zimmerman that night. She says it was Trayvon who felt threatened.
So she says, run. He says, I'm not going to run. I'm just going to walk fast. And at that point, she says, Trayvon, she hears Trayvon say, why are you following me? And that's when she says she hears other voice say, what are you doing around here?
Moments later, she says it sounds like Trayvon gets pushed, and then the phone call drops out. When Zimmerman fired the fatal shot, he told police he acted in self-defense. Legal experts say that claim, backed by Florida's controversial Stand Your Ground law, could prevent Zimmerman's arrest.
The Stand Your Ground law is a license to kill.
The law gives people in Florida the right to protect themselves with deadly force, and not just in their home. Data from the Florida Department of Law Enforcement shows the number of justifiable homicides tripled after the law went into effect in 2005.
He's clearly claiming self-defense and relying on the Stand Your Ground law. However, there is circumstantial evidence suggesting that he had no business gunning down somebody who was armed only with Skittles and a can of iced tea.
And now Zimmerman's already controversial 911 call is fueling speculation online that Zimmerman may have used a racial epithet, though some news outlets believe he muttered the word punks.
Down towards the other entrance of the neighborhood.
Okay, which entrance is that he's heading towards?
The back entrance.
The state attorney has taken over the case from local police and is now announcing that it has called for a grand jury to weigh the evidence and determine Zimmerman's fate. For now, Zimmerman has had no comment. Matt?
Lilia Luciano. Lilia, thank you very much. Trayvon Martin's father, Tracy, and mother, Sabrina Fulton, are with us now exclusively, along with their attorney, Ben Crump. Good morning to all of you. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. This phone call that was carried on between Trayvon and this young lady just before he was shot. The young lady says that she heard him saying, why are you following me? She says perhaps he then put his hoodie up on his sweatshirt and heard someone else saying, what are you doing in this neighborhood? And then the phone went dead. What do you think this phone call proves?
To me, it proves that he wasn't walking around the neighborhood doing anything suspicious. He was on his way home. He had every right to have on his hoodie. It was raining. Why not put on his hoodie to prevent getting wet?
This is not a recorded phone call, Mrs. Fulton. The young lady, the police in Sanford asked anyone with information to come forward if they had that. This young lady, according to our reporting, had not come forward. And we're now getting her version of this phone call. Can it be trusted?
Yes, it can. She was distraught because of the situation that happened with Trayvon, and the fact that she was on the phone with him when the incident occurred, right before the incident occurred. So she was very distraught. She had to go to the hospital. She was hospitalized. She also mentioned to us that she had feelings for Trayvon, so it hurt her dearly to know that he had passed away.
Mr. Crump, though, as an attorney, does it worry you that really what this is hearsay evidence?
It really doesn't, because she is a 16-year-old teenager who just lost a person very special to her. Her parents are very concerned. They did not want her to get involved. And it wasn't until Mr. Martin filed the
phone records and saw that she called him at 7:12. The police got on the scene 7:17. He was shot and dead on the ground.
So just before this happened.
Talk to him.
Briefly, I want to ask you about this other controversy now with this 911 call. Some people who have heard the entire tape believe that Mr. Zimmerman, the man who shot your son, uttered a racial slur. Some people think he said blanking punks. Other people think he said blanking and then a racial slur. Have you heard the entire tape? And do you think you've heard the original tape? What's your opinion?
I haven't heard the entire tape, but the parts that I did hear, Zimmerman did go on saying, I think he said words that were not comforting to my ear.
Like these people,
and who are these people?
He was suspicious because he was young, black with a hoodie.
Let me read you something that lawyers for the Department of Justice have said on the condition of anonymity, that while the investigation of the shooting of 17-year-old Trayvon Martin will go forward, it would be difficult to prosecute the case under federal law. Civil rights law protects against hate crimes or actions by police officers, but Martin's shooting may not have either of those elements.
Matt, it's real simple to us. He needs to be arrested, prosecuted, and convicted. Now, the state needs to do it. It's crazy that this family has to wait for grand juries and stuff when if it was the other way around, they would have arrested their son on the spot.
Mr. Fulton, if we put the picture of Trayvon up on the screen, it is very easy to look at this young man and want to support you and to comfort you and offer our condolences. But do we also have to remember that with all the public outcry here, that there is a perhaps potential for a rush to judgment against Mr. Zimmerman, who has not been charged with a crime, and even if he had been charged with a crime, would have to be viewed as innocent in the eyes of the law. Are you worried about that? Would you urge people to be patient?
I would urge people to be patient, let the courts decide, but I strongly feel that he needs to be arrested because a crime was committed. My son is murdered. My son is not with us no more. Nothing can bring him back.
Only two people know what happened that night, and your son unfortunately cannot tell his side of the story, Ms. Fulton. Are you worried that in a court of law it will be tough to convince a jury of the guilt of Mr. Zimmerman beyond a reasonable doubt?
Well, there are some witnesses, and I just want them to take a look at the evidence that they have. I just hurt, and my heart hurts because this guy has not been arrested. And I just feel like the Sanford Police Department decided to decide if they decided on the scene to be the judge and jury. And I just want this guy arrested and so he can be brought to justice.
Mr. and Mrs. Fulton, thank you for your time this morning. I truly appreciate it. Mr. Crump, thank you very much as well. It's now 15 minutes after the hour. Here's Ann.